Hello, and welcome once again to Veterans on the Front Porch. I'm your host, Clint Brown, and this is our third program, and today we have a very special guest with us, a retired colonel from the U.S. Army, Peter Cassell. And welcome, Peter.
Thanks, Clint. Good to be here.
Good to have you with us.
Thank you.
Well, you've got quite a career. When did you first get involved with the Army?
Went to Davidson College in North Carolina, and they had an ROTC program. Obviously, you're required to take the first 2 years, they're mandatory. And then I applied for the final 2 years, was accepted, and then on graduation got commissioned as a second lieutenant in the Army Reserves.
Oh, wow. Okay. So, Army Reserve, now, would that be like the Guard, where you spend 2 weeks in the summer, 1 week in a month?
Correct. But we had obviously I did 2 years of active duty.
Okay.
As part of my responsibility and commitment. I was an air defense artillery officer.
Wow.
And spent my 2 years at Fort Bliss, Texas, in El Paso, and then came back and found myself an Army Reserve unit, and that started 28 years of being in the Army Reserves.
Wow, that's terrific. Well, we thank you for your service,
Thank
obviously.
you. Same to you.
What years were those?
Got commissioned in May of '64, so I was on active duty in '65 and '66, and then from '67 to 1994, I was in different reserve units around the country.
But you never got to go out of country?
Yes, I did. When we were in El Paso, you got across the river to Juarez a few times, and I had one unit that I was in that I got to go to Canada one time. There's a big Canadian military base in New Brunswick that we went to, and then I went to Iceland because I was in a unit that we were responsible for we were the headquarters that was responsible for the ground defense of Iceland back in the 80s.
Iceland?
Iceland, yes.
Kind of cold there.
Well, we were there the end of May, so it wasn't too bad. But and it's not the Gulf Stream curves very close to Iceland, so it tends to keep it warm. I mean, they get a lot of snow in the wintertime, but it doesn't get 20 or 30 or 40 below zero up there.
Wow. Everyone would think it'd be different when they say Iceland. You're thinking, well, it's cold.
Well, see those Scandinavians who discovered it. They had Iceland, right? And then they had this other place called Greenland, right?
Right, yeah.
Well, that was done with a purpose. They thought they could, keep Iceland to themselves and then send everybody to Greenland because but Greenland was much worse than Iceland was. So, yeah. And actually, I was back in Iceland last year. I went up there for about a week and a half, yeah.
Keflavik, that's in Iceland.
Keflavik, yep.
Keflavik.
Yep. Keflavik Naval Air Station, used to be, right.
It's
now closed.
I flew in there in January.
Yeah.
And I remember the pilot saying, you see that Quonset hut? You've got 20 seconds to get there before you freeze. So we basically stayed on the plane. I said, I'm not chancing it. So 28 years. That's quite a bit of service.
Yeah. But it's. I don't want to say it was. They get you or they hook you. That's not the right way to say. Because I enjoyed my time. Even today I miss people that I met and worked with in various units and stuff. And but you get in, you start, and then you hit 5 years, and you say, oh, okay, this isn't really this bad, right? Yeah. And then you get 10, and you're halfway there.
Right, yeah, it's true.
To 20 for retirement, right? And then 15, and then 20 comes, and you're really enjoying it, and you're lucky enough to be able to have units and a home and jobs, and so the next thing you know, you're at 30. And then, in my case, the terms of my commission were that the maximum years of service that I could perform were 30. So at the middle of 1994 I was out, and then waiting for to become 60 so I could start collecting my retirement.
Hear that?
But it was a great time.
Didn't interfere with your home life?
Yes, it did. But my wife and children, they understood, and there were missed wedding anniversaries and birthdays and this and that and the other thing, and the higher you got in grade, the more responsibilities you had. So instead of just one weekend a month and 2 weeks in the summer, it was maybe 2 weekends a month you were doing something else because your job required it. And in the summertime, there were several years that I was on summer tour with ending up being 3 weeks.
I guess you're fortunate that you were able to not have to go over to Southeast Asia.
True, but that's the I don't want to. That's the draw, the luck,
Right.
the luck of the draw.
Yeah.
Those guys that did and came back to what we greeted them with when they came back.
I know.
Wasn't deserved. I mean, because they all served honorably over there.
Yeah.
And so it's like you just can't.
Yeah, when I came back, we were told not to wear our uniforms.
Oh yeah, that's right. I mean, I've heard. I know stories from guys that were over there that the same thing. They got to Travis Air Force Base in California, or flying in, and went into the restroom and
Right.
changed into civvies, and in some cases they threw their uniform right in the garbage. And
Wow.
you didn't want to be beat up.
Yeah. I didn't throw it away. I just stored it in my sea bag.
Yeah.
Put on I went into California and then to McGuire Air Force Base in New Jersey, and that's
Right.
when I changed because I was going to take commercial bus. I'm not going to put
Yep.
up with that. Now, you've gone above and beyond what you did while you were in the service.
How's that?
You're performing quite a service for veterans now.
Well, yeah, I'm a hospice volunteer with Central New Hampshire VNA and Hospice. Has offices over here as well as in Laconia, where I live. And there's a program in hospice that was created by the National Hospice and Palliative Care Organization down in Virginia in conjunction with the Veterans Administration. And the program is called We Honor Veterans. And it deals with veterans who are hospice patients. And you might ask, why do we have a program specifically dealing with veterans? Well, the reason for that is that about 25% of all deaths in the country today are veterans.
Yeah.
I mean, not murders or anything, but people just naturally dying.
Right.
25% of those are veterans. And so that's a significant part of the population. And also, veterans can, depending upon where and when they served, can have specific, unique medical conditions unique to their service.
Right.
Like all the guys that were in Vietnam, all the illnesses caused by Agent Orange and stuff, or they had malaria or PTSD, and even now PTSD, and the kids that are serving now come out with traumatic brain injuries and all that stuff. The regular population doesn't have that.
Right.
So while not to say that what the regular population has is any less, I don't mean that, but I mean we have unique things that veterans experience, right?
Yep.
So that's why this program was developed. It was to make sure that veterans got the care that they need to address those conditions, as well as to honor them for their service. And one of the many things that we can do is that if we get a hospice patient who is a veteran, male or female, they or their family desire, we have a certificate of appreciation for their service that we present them. And here's a sample of it. It's Central New Hampshire VNA and Hospice. It says, we appreciate our veterans. This one is made out to the infamous John Doe, who happened to be a Marine. And it says, we pay special tribute to you for your military service to America and for advancing the universal hope of freedom and liberty for all, It's signed by our hospice director. This is the logo of the We Honor Veterans program, and obviously this is the crest for the United States Marine Corps.
So you would have one of these for every service?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, Navy
Well,
SEAL and
basically
Army.
we have blanks with except name, and then have them with the Army, Navy, and Air Force crest. We also present a lapel pin that's got the same logo as the
yeah.
We Honor Veterans logo, and thanks to organizations around the lake, we present them with a red, white, and blue lap blanket. They don't all look like this. They're all different patterns and designs, shapes, and whatever. This one was made by ladies from the Wolfeboro United Church of Christ, who has a ministry called the Helping Hands Ministry, and I was just down talking to them about this program and to thank them for doing it. But they knit for other things, like the little baby hats for the kids,
yeah.
for infants in the nurseries and stuff. And they also knit for us. And so we get these, and we will give this to a veteran at the same time we give them a certificate to keep them warm in the winter.
How do you get in touch? Does the hospice let you know that there's a veteran that would like?
Yes, part of the admission process in the hospice is they'll ask if the person had any military service, and if they say yes, that leads to several other questions like branch, when did you serve, what did you do, that kind of thing. Sometimes they will stop because they don't want to talk about it. They'll say, yes, I had military service, but that's about it. We don't want to. But if we find out more, again, it's going to help with the care that we provide them, the medical care, and we find out that they have, and we ask them if they would like a certificate, and they say yes, then we will make up a certificate, and we will arrange for one or more veterans. We try to do it for the same branch that we have about nine veterans that are hospice volunteers now that are in this program. And if it's an Army veteran, we'll get a couple of Army guys to go and do the presentation. If it's a Navy, same. We have some Navy. The only thing we don't have is we don't have any Marine hospice volunteers, so we need to get a Marine or two in there.
Well, maybe we'll get the word out.
But we do have Army, Navy, Air Force, and do we have in the Coast Guard? No, I don't think so. But and we do have one of our volunteers is a retired Navy nurse, and so if we have a female patient, then we'll send Jenny to do the presentation.
Well, that's a wonderful program. How did you get involved with it?
With hospice, my neighbor is a hospice volunteer, and was doing it long before I got involved in it. And he said, you ought to, now that you're retired, you need something to do to fill your time. And so he said, I think you'd be a good hospice volunteer. So I went down and talked to them and got trained, and that was in the spring of 2012, and I've been doing it for 6 years now.
Wow, that's great. It's such a wonderful service, and I got to hand it to people that do that. I mean, you got to be a special type of person to be able to sit down with someone.
Well, lots of cases, especially with veterans, I think I get more out of visiting with a veteran. You can doing these presentations, okay, or even you can be assigned if you want, and the veteran and the patient wants. If they like to have somebody come visit them on a regular basis, you can do that also. So you get to do, say every week, go spend a couple hours with your hospice patient and tell war stories and lies.
Yeah.
Yeah. And just have a good time. A lot of cases I would do it to. They need the spouse needs some time to run and do some shopping or get her hair done or whatever, And so you can be there to be with the patient, so the patient's not by themselves. And
It really must be something for a veteran in hospice to be able to have another veteran sit down, because you can talk. I mentioned this in several programs, that there are certain things you can talk about with another veteran that you can't with someone who wasn't in the service.
Correct. Oh yeah. I mean, we have shared experiences.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe not exactly the same, but everybody went through a form of boot camp.
Well,
I mean, going through ROTC, it wasn't boot camp, but you had ROTC, the 6-week summer camp between your junior and senior year. That I did mine at Fort Bragg, North Carolina, and but we all went through those things, the trainings, the becoming part of something bigger than yourself, and all that stuff. So yeah, you can, while they may have had different experiences on active duty, been in combat. I've never been in combat, but everybody, we all did basically the same thing. I look at it as, everybody that's in the military or has been in the military, we all raised our right hand.
yes,
We took the oath, and
signed a blank check.
yeah. Yeah, some of them worth a lot more than others, I'll tell you that.
Yeah.
But it just, we can speak the same jargon and lexicon. And if somebody had a bad time, and sometimes at end of life, that's sometimes where that comes out, and they express something to us that they maybe not have told
Anybody.
their family even,
That's right.
or about something that they want to get off their chest.
Yeah, that's
And
right.
it's an honor and a privilege to be able to present these.
And it means a lot to them to have another vet there.
Yeah.
I would think.
I think so.
And rank doesn't hold anything.
No, nope, no. I got. Let's see. We got myself, another guy's a Navy captain, retired Navy captain. Bunch of one was an Army lieutenant. The nurse was a lieutenant. Got two Navy Master Chiefs. And everybody else is just, we're all, it's a mix, but we're all, we're veterans.
Right.
And
Absolutely.
that's the common
Common thread.
the common thread. Yes.
Yeah. So you've been doing it now since 2012?
Yep.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Had some interesting experiences presenting these. Got time for a quick story?
Sure.
There was a gentleman back over in Laconia. This was maybe 4 years ago, who was World War II Army veteran, Army Air Corps actually at the time, and I went over to the house and had 2 daughters and a couple of grandkids there, and I asked him, which I like to do, is to get a little background and find out, where did you serve and when did you serve, and he said, well, World War II, and he said, and I was in the China, Burma, India theater.
Wow.
And I said, oh, CBI. And he said, yeah. And his daughters looked over. What? Where was that, Dad? And so he said, it's theater, little known, very, very little known about what happened, but that's where they flew over the hump, right, bringing supplies into China and
Yep.
fought in a lot of jungles and Burma and stuff, and where Merrill's Marauders were. And one of the daughters had a laptop. And so all of a sudden, she was on her laptop doing stuff, and she was going into Google to find out about what the CBI theater was, or the China, Burma, India theater.
Mm-hmm.
And so she started reading, and she found out a lot that she didn't know, and she talked about that and told her other sister that, oh, what Dad really did. And so it was a really learning experience for them, and I think they might have gained a little bit more appreciation for what Dad had done
Yeah.
in World War II.
Yeah.
And it's just those are really neat when especially, and there were two grandkids there, if I remember correctly, and so they, now Grandpa was not that he was not more of a hero than anybody else that served, but the point is, they learned, because there were not a whole lot of folks that served in that
No.
part of the world during World War II, but it was a really it was a neat experience, and I learned a little bit myself.
And so you say you give presentations. You gave a presentation this morning.
I did not present one of these to a veteran this morning.
No, but you were talking to a group.
Talking to the knitting group at the Congregational Church about the program and expressing our thanks for the knitting that they do for us, and letting them know how much we appreciate it and how much the families and the veterans who get one of these appreciate getting one.
Do you speak to many groups about your program?
I've done some public speaking over the years to like Lions clubs and Rotary clubs, the Legion. We did a presentation for the Legion in Meredith. But yes, I mean, there's oftentimes that we'll get asked to do, or we'll go try and round up somebody that we can speak to. I actually spoke to the Kiwanis also in Laconia.
Now, do you get donations from these groups to keep going, or is VNA sponsored by?
The agency, they get reimbursed for for all the services, because Central New Hampshire VNA and Hospice is not just a hospice organization. It's visiting. The VNA stands for Visiting Nurse Association. Right. So there are multiple programs that they handle. Home health care, there's a pediatric care program, all different kinds of things in addition to the hospice part of it. Okay, and so hospice, for senior folks, hospice is actually a Medicare benefit.
Right.
So that we would get reimbursed for services that we do, that we can bill and get reimbursed for, from Medicare, and then obviously we fundraise and stuff to get donations. Lots of people who pass away, when they do, they name the agency as a instead of, quote, in lieu of flowers, please send a donation to, and surprisingly, the ones I see in the paper, the two most popular seem to be us and the Humane Society over in Laconia. But it's a really it's a very fulfilling program.
It must be very rewarding.
It is.
But it takes a special kind of person to be able to do that. I don't know if I could do it.
Why not?
I don't know. I mean,
we train you.
My wife does it. She works for hospice, and I don't know how she does it. I mean, I don't know.
If you think about it, I forget the exact words of our motto, but it's to enable somebody to have dignity and responsibility and to be where they want to be, kind of at end of life. Okay, and it's not just the medical side. There's spiritual care if the family or patient wants it. There's doing this recognition if they're a veteran. We deal with a whole, not just the medical aspect at end of life. It's the family's life, and how the person who's got a terminal illness, and is at end of life, can have the end of life that they want to have.
It must be something for a veteran, though, who's either been in combat or not, but has all of this built up inside of him and really hasn't been able to talk to anybody about it.
Yeah.
To have another veteran come in and being able to say, this is what I went through. Yep.
I mean, and we've had that. I mean, there are people who, at the end of life, when they realize that it's going to happen, they feel like they do want to share, and will open up.
Especially to another veteran.
Oh, it makes it easier. It certainly makes it easier. Sometimes they will do that and not necessarily open up that much to their family, but
Right.
they'll, they will, I don't want to say unburden themselves, but they'll tell their story to, because we all like to tell war stories, right?
Yeah.
To another veteran, because it's always, can you top can you top this, right?
Yeah.
And so yes, that does happen.
Yeah.
That definitely
Yeah.
does happen, and it's it's nice to be part of that, because that, or you are hoping that patient is now going to feel better about where he or she is in this stage of their life. If they can be calmer and feel better about themselves after unburdening,
Right.
that would be fine.
I bet you see a lot of tears at times too.
Mostly, well, not a whole lot. I mean, it's just most of the veterans that I've had the opportunity and honor to visit with on a regular basis. Okay. We played a lot of cribbage, for one.
Oh, okay.
I keep a cribbage board and a deck of cards in my bag that I carry with me.
Well, that's great.
But they, most of the ones that I've visited have not had anything that they've been burying. They've been pretty good. They've not afraid at all to share their stories, and it's not really an emotional issue
that's good.
when they do. But obviously it can happen for
Yeah,
sure.
yeah. Well, I certainly want to thank you for your service, and I want to thank you for what you're doing now for veterans.
Well, thank you.
It's a pleasure, and I'm sure. Is there a phone number you can mention if somebody wants to get in touch with you?
With me,
Or they have to
with
go through the VA?
They have to go through the
Hospice.
through Central New Hampshire VNA and Hospice. The number over there is 524-8444.
524-8444.
Right.
Great. Thank you, Peter.
Thank
Or
you,
should
Clint.
say Colonel.
Pleasure to have been here.
Pleasure to have you with us,
Thank you.
and wish you very success in the program.
Thank you.
Well, that'll do it for today. Again, our special guest is Peter Cassell, retired Lieutenant Colonel, and working with the VNA and the Hospice program for vets. We thank you for being with us, and we look forward to seeing you again next time on Veterans on the Front Porch.